The backyard was buzzing with light and laughter, the kind that makes it feel like the world is spinning a little too fast. Tessa moved through it all like she was auditioning for attention, her laughter a beat too loud, her gestures lingering just a little too long. She wasn't just enjoying the party, she was performing. I stood near the grill with Rye, flipping burgers, trying not to watch, though my eyes kept finding her. She hooked a finger in some guy's chain, leaned into him, and whispered something that made him laugh. Ray caught my glance. "You gonna step in, or—" I didn't hesitate. "Eyes on my wife," I said. Tessa caught my look, smirked like she just scored, and pivoted away. The guy's friends noticed, expecting some drama. They got it. I set my beer down, walked across the deck, and stopped a couple of feet from her. "We're done here," I said. Her smile widened, bright and teasing. "Relax, Grant, it's Ray's birthday." Exactly. And I wasn't letting her turn it into her stage. I raised my voice just enough to cut through the music. "Last line, I'm leaving." She tossed back her hair, laughing, pretending it was nothing. But I didn't wait. I turned and walked out the side gate, climbed into my truck and drove off. No yelling, no arguments, just a line. 15 minutes later, she walked through the front door, heels clicking across the hardwood. I was at the sink, rinsing my hands after smoking a cigarette outside. "Okay," she said, placing her bag on the counter. "I performed." "Different sport," I corrected gently. "You got carried away, wanted to feel noticed." Her voice softened. "I'm sorry, Grant. Won't happen again." I nodded. "Tomorrow we'll talk about it properly. Tonight let's just put out the fire." She agreed, almost eagerly. That night I slept on my side of the bed listening to the hum of the ceiling fan. Midnight apologies are cheap. Interest shows at breakfast. Morning came. I made eggs while she hovered near the kitchen island, wearing one of my shirts. Quiet, tentative. "I heard you," I started. "Here's how it's going to work for a while." Her eyebrows lifted. She liked structure. "Rules?" "Yes. Couples nights are paused. Social calendars handled separately. No shows where I'm a prop. Courtesy checks by 10 p.m. No permissions, just information. Separate discretionary spending. Joint account covers essentials. Extras are your responsibility. Mine are mine." "That's a lot," she said, reaching for her mug. I said, "It's basic. Respect is simple until you have to enforce it." She reminded me about last night's apology. "Accepted," I said firmly. "And this," I added, "is me making sure we don't repeat the same scene." She sipped her coffee, studying me. "You're punishing me," she said. "Wrong word. I'm protecting the marriage from your boredom," I answered. Her mouth opened and closed. "So the camping trip next weekend?" "Not going." She laughed softly. "You're serious?" "Absolutely. I'm not competing for attention at parties, and I'm not auditioning at home either. These are my terms for calm." She stared at the countertop, calculating how far to push. "Fine." "Good," I said. "Last thing, no jokes about me in front of your friends. If you want to talk about me, talk to me." "Are we in court now?" she asked, tilting her head. "Joke if you want. Just read the room first," I replied. She rolled her eyes and walked away. I sent a quick text to cancel the camping trip. "Work and timing. Rain check." Jenna replied with a thumbs up. Ray shrugged. Tessa chimed in. "Grant's in his responsible era." I put my phone down. Public is public. At the shop, noon arrived. Tessa walked in with a paper bag. "Lunch," she said, placing it on the workbench. "Turkey and avocado. My usual." "I can feed myself," I said, but I opened the bag anyway. She knew me well. "I meant what I said last night. No nonsense," she added. "Good," I replied. "You'll have plenty of chances to prove it." She straightened a tape measure by my elbow, a small, thoughtful gesture. "How about dinner Friday? Just us. No phones." "That works," I said. She kissed my cheek on the way out. Playful, yet sincere. Dan, my foreman, returned from the yard. "You two on a truce?" "Testing," I said. Dan raised an eyebrow. "Last week your crew was over helping with the fence. Tessa joked about your long leash. Thought you should know that." "Appreciate it," I replied. I spent lunch moving my direct deposit to a separate account and changing the gas card to personal. Adult logistics, not drama. I texted Tessa. "Discretionary spending is separated for now. Joint account covers basics. Review in a month." Thumbs up, heart emoji. She understood. At 5 p.m. she called. "Becca invited me to a housewarming tonight." "Do what you want," I replied. "I'm heading to Mark's garage. Don't wait up." She paused. "We're good?" "Yes, respect and clear boundaries." At Mark's, we worked quietly on a carburetor, classic rock playing low. Around 9 p.m., Tessa's text popped up. "Home by 10. Promise. Be safe." Promise. Better than nothing. I put the phone face down and kept tightening bolts. Suspense moment. Saturday arrived. Jenna's barbecue, neutral territory. Tessa stayed close to me, playful but careful. Then Becca, the initiator, leaned in, teasing, "Mrs. Responsible era, how's life with Grant's spreadsheet policy?" She glanced at me, then back at Becca. "He thinks structure is romantic," she said. I corrected casually, "No curfew, just courtesy works both ways." Public comments, public answers. The point landed. She touched my arm later. "Can we not turn my friends into referees? You open the arena. Close it." She nodded tightly, understanding. Subscribe for more stories like this.
The next few days felt like testing the waters. Tessa made small gestures, coffee waiting on the counter, her phone placed face down at dinner, asking about bids I've been chasing. A quiet effort, subtle and almost apologetic. I noticed, but I didn't trust it fully. By Friday, she was cooking dinner at home. Salmon, simple sides, soft playlist in the background. We ate in calm, almost too calm. Halfway through, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then back at me. "Work?" I suggested letting it wait. She nodded, returning to her plate, apologetic but smiling. The fire had gone out, for now. It was small, domestic victories like this that began to rebuild what had been frayed. A few days later, Sunday brunch with her yoga friends came around. I'd canceled my participation, sent a short note, taking a break from group Sundays, catch you in a month. Tessa stared at me. "You're dismantling our life," she accused quietly. I just shook my head. "I'm rebuilding the part one can actually stand in. You can be in it, but not like before." She didn't argue after that. She understood. At least she seemed to. A week later, she arrived at my shop with a bakery box. Slower steps, lighter touch, a small smile. "I know I've been restless," she admitted softly. "I'm bored, Grant. Not with you, with us." "There used to be a difference," I said, flipping the blueprint. "Now, there isn't." She opened the box. Cookies, her attempt at lightening the air. "Trying to put the air back in the tires?" I asked, half smiling. "Exactly," she said. And I believed her, at least a little. That was the first soft turn. The second came fast. Saturday morning, she showed up in the yard, hair pulled back, no makeup, wearing my old college hoodie. Together we spread mulch, cursed at the squeaky wheelbarrow, laughed at our clumsiness. At the end, we high-fived like we had just won a small victory. Afterward, she curled against me on the couch for a movie, barely checking her phone. A different woman. I didn't fully trust it, but I allowed myself the moment, grateful for peace without needing to control it. 2 weeks passed. Jenna hosted another dinner, a small gathering. Wine, lasagna, 6 of us. Peaceful until Becca leaned in, curiosity in her voice. "So, the new regime, any infractions?" Tessa smirked. She said he keeps an Excel sheet, her tone playful but sharp. "Dates, times, violations," I added, dry. Becca's mouth snapped shut, and Ray muttered, flipping his sausage. Fair, he conceded. Later in the kitchen, Tessa confronted me quietly. You embarrassed me, she said. I reminded her, you wrote the script. I just read my line. Her eyes softened. You really are changing. That night at home, she tried charm again. Softer, gentler. She climbed into my lap on the patio chair, kissed my neck lightly, teasing. I like you when you're stern. I like you when you're kind, I replied, gently setting her on her feet. We both have preferences. She rolled her eyes, but she didn't push. For a week, things held. Then came Tuesday, the day that broke the last support beam. I was finishing a late inspection, running behind schedule because the homeowner loved telling stories about fishing trophies. I text Tessa at 9:30 p.m., running late, home around 10. No response. I drove home quiet streets, pulled in at 10:45 p.m. The lights were off, bedroom empty. I set my keys down and checked the back door instinctively. Then I texted, "Where are you?" Her reply was fast, cold. "I'm not your property. I'll be late. Don't call." Something simple clicked inside me. Not anger, not hurt, just clarity. I typed back, "I'm not your husband from this moment. Don't come back." I put the phone down and began packing her things. Not hastily, not in anger, carefully. Her suitcases, neatly folded clothes, toiletries in a bag, chargers, makeup, books. I even coiled her vanity mirror cord. Everything organized. I called Todd, the neighbor who does locksmithing. I said front and back cylinder change tonight. He showed up 15 minutes later, silent and efficient. Keys swapped. I set the suitcases by the door and sat at the kitchen table, 11:29 p.m. Headlights swung across the kitchen wall just after midnight. The front door rattled, paused, 3 short hits. "Grant," her voice shook the wood. "My key isn't working." I opened the door carefully, chain still on. She held her purse in one hand, indignation in the other. "What's this?" she asked, seeing her suitcases. "Finishing the conversation you started," I said calmly. I held out my ring. Her face passed through 3 expressions in seconds: anger, shock, disbelief. "This is insane," she said. "No," I corrected. "This is a test. You sent the answer. I read it." She glanced into the kitchen, then back at me. "We can talk." I replied, "We won't. You wrote it yourself. I'm not your property, right? And I don't keep what isn't mine. These are your things. Go to your parents, your friends, whoever, but you don't live here anymore." "You can't do this," she snapped. "You mistake me for someone asking permission." I nudged the suitcases toward her with my foot. "Pick 'em up." Her eyes filled. She took the ring from my hand. "Where am I supposed to go?" "It's midnight. Your family, a friend. You rehearsed this night. You just didn't expect me to say my line." She tried one last tactic. "You'll regret this in the morning." In the morning, I will be filing the paperwork. Her eyes searched mine for a crack. Finding none, she took her bags and walked down the steps. Wheels thumped twice on the concrete. I closed the door, turned the deadbolt, and laid the new keys on the table. I slept. Not well, but not badly. Just horizontal with clarity in the room. The next morning, I showered, shaved, and drove to the clerk's office. Paperwork can be dull, but when it saves your life, it's vital. Each line filled out calmly, deliberately. On the way back, I stopped for coffee, sent Tessa a single clear note from a new email. "Your remaining items are boxed. Pick up Saturday 10 to 12 or Sunday 2 to 4. Reply here only." The phone rang 5 times before noon, her number flashing. I let it go.
The days after the final confrontation were quiet. The kind of quiet that feels heavy at first, but then, slowly, starts to feel like freedom. My house no longer had the tension hovering in every corner. It felt like my space again, my rules, my schedule, my life. I kept the email open for Tessa's reply, but there wasn't one that mattered. She left messages, 4 or 5, but I didn't read them. Jenna texted me, concerned, "Are you home? What happened? Call me." I sent a short reply. "I'm okay. Made a decision. I'll explain later." At the shop, Dan noticed the change immediately. "You look 10 pounds later," he commented while measuring a run of cabinets. "More like 10 pounds clearer," I replied, and left it at that. Every action I took was deliberate. Adult logistics, nothing dramatic. I moved our shared funds to separate accounts, clarified discretionary spending, and organized everything I could control. No tension, no hidden motives, just clean boundaries. Tessa continued her attempts, subtle at first. Emails, messages through friends, even a handwritten note in the mailbox. The tone changed, but the goal didn't. She wanted me back in a place where disrespect and public humiliation felt normal. I ignored them all politely. And that is a skill people forget. They think ignoring is cruel. It isn't. It's clear. I ran into Becca at the grocery store once. She peered at my cart like my milk was some kind of confession. "So you're really done?" she asked. "I was done the night she texted me," I said simply. "I don't own what she doesn't give me." She told me clearly. I just returned it. Becca blinked, a little surprised. "You're colder than I expected." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe I'm just warmer to myself than I used to be." The weeks passed. Life started to rebuild itself naturally. Ray and Jenna hosted another barbecue, smaller crowd, no public dramas, just friends eating ribs off paper plates, telling stories that didn't need villains. Halfway through, Jenna leaned over. "You good?" she asked. "I'm better," I said. "You think you'll ever talk to her again?" "I talked," I said. "I'm finished." Everything after a period is just noise. That day on the drive home, windows down, the truck felt like mine in a way it hadn't in years. My house was calm, my bed was squared away. Peace isn't dramatic, it's the absence of unnecessary chaos. People often assume a man leaves in anger. I didn't. I left when I was calm, fully composed. When I realized I didn't own anything she wasn't willing to respect, I returned it all, clear and deliberate. The house stayed with me, the truck, half the savings, clean math. No pets, no kids, no shared business, just a mortgage and habits. Habits are easier to manage when they don't involve lawyers or arguments. I threw myself into work. I took projects that made sense and declined the ones that promised headaches. Wednesday dinners with Ray became routine. Jenna roped me into fixing long-neglected shelves. I bought a second-hand smoker and mastered it enough to feed people without incident. Weekends became mine. Early gym sessions, grocery runs, hardware store visits, all done with precision and calm. Life rebuilt itself quietly, efficiently, without drama. Dating became intentional. Coffee with a nurse who laughed without reserve. Drinks with a lawyer who asked sharp questions and paid for the second round. A hike with a teacher who despised small talk. Nice women, interesting. None of it sticking yet, but it wasn't failure. It was pacing, rebuilding, clarity. Tessa, meanwhile, tried new angles every few weeks. Emails, messages through friends, even a handwritten note in the mailbox. The tone changed, but the goal didn't. She wanted me back in a place where disrespect and public humiliation felt normal. I ignored them all politely. And that is a skill people forget. They think ignoring is cruel. It isn't. It's clear. Months later, the final divorce papers arrived, stamped and official. The house, the truck, the finances, everything cleanly divided. No games, no lingering power struggles. Life settled into a rhythm. Coffee made my way, cup left in the sink until I had time. Texts answered only if they carried weight. Respect returned in the eyes of others. And slowly, the feeling of being whole again sank in. Tessa moved across the river. A new set of friends, new routines. I saw her pictures occasionally, always chasing light, but never quite capturing it. And I realized that was never my responsibility. Sometimes the lines we draw aren't for anyone else, they're for ourselves. My line was simple. I wouldn't tolerate disrespect, I wouldn't negotiate my dignity, and I wouldn't carry two people alone. When she told me, "I'm not yours," I heard the freest sentence in the world, and I responded in kind. Door closed, locks changed, paper signed. Life resumed. Now my mornings are calm, my routines mine, my relationships built on respect, my home a place of quiet certainty. And me? I'm at my table, with my coffee, my schedule, and my life exactly the way I need it.